Price action is doing its thing. But the fundamentals does show you like, okay, things are evolving and some of these look good. And while we look at the fundamentals for the entire market, we do understand some of these are concerning. And some of these are giving us clarity of something to think about. Instead of saying, okay, I think there is another XRP ledger where the price is $10,000, we'll go back to the reality. Okay, this is the current price and that's the market value, the fair value for that asset. And while we look at the fundamentals and how it's evolving, it does look really promising. The way you have to look at this is like, okay, fundamentally, if a strong asset is actually becoming stronger and stronger, and on the other side, the use case scenarios are increasingly valid in an economy where there is a lot of uncertainty. It's not only in one country, even though they highlight the fact that the economical issue is in one country. Right now, we are observing that worldwide. And one of the interesting point here is to understand like people are not only jumping into gold or silver, they are also opting for crypto. That means this run up is going to be heavy. Remember this one? It was really big. So back in the day when you actually saw this, it was like, wow, they are all heavy on this. They all understand the fact that this asset has a ton of value because the way they were comparing it was with Bitcoin to surpass Bitcoin. That was the fundamentals. That was the ability. Then the SEC came in and screwed us. That's the reality. But what now, right? For the US participants, they kind of halted the trading, but not worldwide as the other exchanges does. So as soon as you get some kind of understanding from the code, things are going to change for sure. And you will actually see people highlighting different facts, and it's up to you to look for the reality. Some of them would say like, okay, Twitter is saying they're going to use eToro and let you trade Bitcoin, but is that the reality? No, it's not. Because what they were saying is like they're going to allow them to trade stocks and other assets in which crypto comes in as the other asset. And when you go look at the most traded assets in eToro, this is that list. Bitcoin, Cardano, Ether, XRP, Doge, all of them comes inside that. And if you notice the fact that Bitcoin is like 99% buy and all others are 100% buy. So you have got some traders here in Bitcoin, whereas here, most of the alts are like buy and hold. That does show you like some of these assets are long-term hold for a lot of people. And that is something interesting for you, or it should be interesting for you at a time when the dollar is kind of getting crashed to the downside, right? You're looking for the daily, it closed to the downside. You're looking on the weekly, it's getting hammered. This is where it's going. And if that's true, historically speaking, whenever Bitcoin goes up, you actually see dollar crashing. Whenever crypto goes up, you see dollar dropping. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where the normal retail guys get to learn how to become the next top 10% of this world. The fact that the altcoin market is breaking to the upside is huge. Because right now you broke through the first level of resistance and you are getting ready for next one. So by the time we see the price going up in Bitcoin, we may most likely see all coins doing the same. So if we think about that for a second, RSI is showing you a rounded bottom pattern, which highlights the fact that, okay, something is happening. Someone is interested in buying this asset. That is huge. Now, one of the interesting fact we need to keep in our mind is that once you break this pattern, this range, what then, right? That is something which should actually shatter you. If you are not prepared, if you think that I'm still staying on the sidelines, that can be a wrong decision. You may have to reconsider what you see in the market, because the way I am looking at it, I do think that this is going to be a blast off. I do think this is going to be a massive opportunity window for a lot of people who are in the market right now. You go back in history, you look at all of this fact and how the pattern, the price action on everything played out, it kind of gives you a clear picture that you have opportunity when the RSI shows you increasing strength. One, two, it's trending higher. You respect your previous resistance as a new support. So here, for that matter, we just saw that the first level of resistance then turned into the next level of support, after which the price broke the next level. So here, you got one resistance which was broken. Now you're getting another level of resistance being kicked out of the market. So that's great, meaning you are trending to the upside. Now, when you're trending to the downside, what happens? Things like this happen. You get a trend line. Now, if you say, I don't think trend line works, and you still believe trend is your friend, now put a question mark there. What do you believe trend is then? You actually get to see lower highs being formed consistently, and you kind of get a trend line, a trending zone. Now, most likely a trending zone is going to be helpful because the market is not always the same and it is going to have standard deviations. And that is what showed you here that we broke higher, we came back, we retested that range, then we made a double bottom and bounced off. So if you believe in patterns, that comes from trend lines, right? When we actually go back into XRP, if we are following this, we understood the fact that, now, if you go back in time, look at what we were talking before this giant pump, you know that, right? This was the resistance which the price violated. So we were like, okay, something is changing. We are above the moving average, we are breaking through the pattern, and the trend line is broken. Then we started pumping like crazy. We moved up with volume. Before that, XRP was super slow. But am I saying like you're going to the sky the next day? I really don't think so. Right now on the 3-day, you still have not moved about this particular bearish candle. So right now that is still valid, meaning the market actually showed you an engulfing candle to the downside, and that candle has not yet been invalidated, whether it's to the upside or to the downside. Downside would be a continuation pattern, upside would be invalidating that. But right now, I think the way the market is behaving, we are kind of slow. We are letting the moving average climb up to the price and then decide what to do. But this area would be like a massive buying opportunity in my opinion, because I think like, okay, if the price is actually dropping after this correction and you're reaching this support level or just above that, it's going to be a golden range for a lot of people, because we understand the fact that historical range for an asset work. Now, it works for the reason that we are all human beings, because when you actually drop this, I've said this 1,000 times in this channel, this range has been historically strong for XRP, whether as a resistance or as a support or as a resistance. Every time this range has been respected by the price. Now, you're making a higher low with respect to that support zone and you bounced off with volume. That's actually looking good. Now, look at the RSI. As we've been talking about, it's still pointing you to the upside. You go on to a daily. That's where you're looking for a short-term correction. And this is what we are waiting. We want to either see we are breaking to the downside, we come back to the support and then bounce off. Things are over. Because on the other end, we do understand the fact that markets are going higher. Gold is right now trying to push through to touch its all-time high. It was like 2075, I think. Now, if you look at gold on a monthly, that's where you should go like, there is something wrong. If people are flocking into gold, they see something wrong in the economy. And that's why I'm like, let me then go look at the market, right? This is Dow Jones, and I'm looking at the market, and I'm literally watching a pattern evolve here as a rounded bottom, and then you got a wedge here, a broadening wedge, which is trying to break to the upside. So I'm like, there is something wrong, meaning market can actually run higher for the first time and then go lower. So if that happens, the same thought process who gave you the idea that we are entering into a bull market here at the bottom, and that is like going to say, for example, if you are saying this is a bear market, you're going down, and then this is a bull market. Imagine Bitcoin's bull market from 15,000 to 90,000. Have you ever seen Bitcoin doing bull market like that? I haven't. If you go back in history, look at the price of Bitcoin, it doesn't. Bull market. So in a market cycle, you get a bull market and a bear market inside one market cycle. So that is key to understand. And right now, when the people give you the idea like, okay, we are still going down to $12,000, $15,000, I can't, even digest the information. Like, how can that be true when your momentum is so high to the upside, and on a weekly you got this level of volume, the buyers coming in saying, okay, I'm not staying on the sidelines, I'm jumping in, something just changed in the market, I really don't want to miss this opportunity. That's what we just saw here with this amount of volume on a weekly. Great. And right now, if you come to the market, look at the volume here. It's so teeny tiny bit and still the price is climbing up. What does that mean to you? If it's me, I would say you have little bit of buyers, but they are able to push the price higher and higher and higher. Where are we going? Through the roof? I don't know. But that just shows me that sellers are weak, they're getting exhausted, or they're jumping out of the market, waiting for the next macro level of resistance. Now the question is, where the hell is the next macro level resistance? So on a weekly, you can argue the fact that, okay, we are kind of close to that. It's like 31,000, near to that. And after that, you have somewhere close to 36,000, say 35. But when you actually jump on to a monthly chart, the macro, the first level, that actually comes to 35,000. So if it's me, I would be looking at the monthly and saying like, okay, we consistently got 3 monthly candles here in green, and the fourth one is on work. And right now we have a little bit of volume, and it's like halfway through the month. We still have some time to go, but there will be a tipping point for sure. Because when you go back and look at how things evolve inside each wave structure here in wave 1 and in wave 2, you observe the fact that once you get the peak volume and drop, the price still goes up, because at that point you don't have a lot of sellers pushing you to the other side. Imagine like the buyers and sellers are fighting and sellers are just backing out. Now you don't need a huge amount of energy to push to the other side. It becomes a little bit easier. Think it that way. Buyers and sellers are fighting and sellers are backing out because they understand the fact that, okay, it's not something you can win this time. Let's take a step back. That's how the markets evolve. Now, if that is true and you are going higher, now ask that question like, okay, if you are going higher, how high are you going? That is something you all have to ask yourself, because when you go back in history, look at the market cycles of Bitcoin. You can go like 2010, 2011, or maybe you can go all the way back to 2009. I think there will be a chart which actually gives you the idea going back to 2009. And when you actually take that thought process, this is where you actually end up like. Each time you are actually slowing down. You can use trend angle, you can use whatever tool you like to understand the fact that, okay, each time you're making a new high, the angle to the upside is reducing. So if that's the fact, okay, maybe 95,000, maybe 100,000, that is going to be a huge level of resistance. Now, digest this information as a macro, right? It's like the ultimate long-term picture. And then dive into the short-term scenario. Like you get one, then you go up and then get rejected. Fine. Now take the same picture, go on to a short-term narrative. Like compared to that one, daily is not that short-term, but compared to what we just talked about, this one is short-term. What do you get? You get something similar. You make this 3-wave structure pattern, say 1, 2, 3, and then you correct back down, right? What happens? And then again, you go up 1, 2, and you're going higher at that point. Now, once FOMO kicks in, yeah, the market goes parabolic, things go so bad. Agreed, 100%. But right now, we are looking for that level of resistance. And when the price is reaching to that level, make sure you take some profits, because you really don't want to get stuck in the market believing a lot of different individuals who you even don't know, including myself, thinking like, okay, that is just the beginning. You're going to go towards $1 million. If your eggs are still like $5 to $10, not $100 or $1,000, if your milk is somewhat similar in price, that means your dollar is depreciating, but not like what we all think, in a different way. Like if Bitcoin want to go to $1 million, that means your dollar gets hammered. Your eggs or milk is now, 100 times expensive than it used to be. Now, in that fact, if we jump onto XRP and look at like the macro picture for XRP, we understand the fact that, okay, we actually see a huge move up and then this leg up. Now we are still waiting. We still have a long way to go. There is no denying the fact that we have a long way to go, because on the monthly, we haven't still violated the first level of major support. The way you have to look at this is like you went up, you hit the moving average, you are slowing a little bit down. And when you're slowing down, first level which you need to respect is still being respected on the monthly. Now we have like, another 17 days to go in this month. However, right now we are holding on to that level, which is ultra bullish, because then you zoom in and you kind of get a lot of different pictures in the market. But understand right now what you're making, even though it looks on a weekly like a hanging man pattern or a hammer at the top, which is like, hanging man where you go a little bit corrective, it will be healthy. But imagine the next candle just bursting through, invalidating all these levels and going up. That would be nuts, right? Now, why am I saying that? Because when you go into the market on the other side, look at all these assets. They are going crazy. Remember, when we were here, as we were just breaking through that range, I gave you my thought process saying, this is about to go nuts, guys. Believe me, this is about to go nuts, right? And that's happening in the market. Now, why is that happening? Because if you agree that markets do trend in one way or the other, and you get to understand different patterns and price structure, it helps you. The way we showed this pattern, it was based on the trend lines here. We broke higher, we came back, we respected that range, we went back up. Now, I thought this leg, it would come lower, but it didn't actually do much. It didn't touch this range, it went back up. Fine, but we hit our first level here, and then you still had the momentum in the RSI on that time horizon. That was the reason why I was calling for like, okay, we are going for major opportunity window. And this window may not last for like a year or two like a lot of big people are giving you. If it's me, I would say like, guys, maybe next 3 months, maybe next 5 months, it's going to be done. And you'll have to decide for yourself, thinking where you are going to take the profit. Because if you didn't happen to take a big chunk last time and you were in altcoins for the most, that's kind of okay, because most of them are still in wave 2. You get a massive opportunity window after waiting this time. But next time, most of them which already did wave 2 are in wave 3, it's done, you're going back into a bear market. Most of them which are doing wave 2 now, they're going to go for wave 3, which means the opportunity is going to reduce. So you need to understand the fact that each of your assets in your portfolio, where they are, if they are in wave 1, if they are in wave 2, you need to decide, right? And for XRP, if this is a trend line, which actually, the market respects, the market following it. It's not like I'm saying this. It's like each time you come to that range, that zone, market is pushing that price to the downside. And that's happening over like 2 years, like a long-term period where the market actually respected that range. You go a little bit higher, you come a little bit lower. That's your standard deviation. And what happens once you break that? Right now, you are working your way to the upside. And that's one of the reasons why I was like, okay, if we get invalidation of the corrective structure, go bullish. Why am I saying that? Because the thought process here basically is like, okay, when you actually get a rising wedge, you usually see them breaking to the downside like 60-65% of the time, but rarely when it breaks to the upside. That's rare. Like when that happens, that is double bullish for the market, because now it's not that daily scenario which is playing out, it's the macro scenario. Because when you come on to the daily or 3-day, you still had the thought process of you're going down. But with the last daily candle close and the current daily candle booming, it now got invalidated. The reason for that is weekly was still showing you bullishness in the market. It was still highlighting the fact that we are going higher. Now, if you're like, okay, I don't really care about Ether, you should. Because if you're in altcoins, then most likely the market is following the exact same structure. After like 320 days of movements, we are breaking to the upside. While discussing about this chart in the group, I was giving that thought process, right? Watch this, it's going to go higher. And right now, we are already watching it slowly but steadily breaking through that week by week. Now, you can go on a monthly chart and put that statement, remove everything, and look at what the market is showing you. The moving average is here, which is 833 billion. Right now, we are close to 646 billion. So that puts the market in a way that it can run 20-30%. Now, some of these coins are going to do 300%. Some of them are going to do 30%. Agreed. But which coin is going to do that? We really don't know, right? That's one of the reasons why we actually go through each and every asset to look at what their probabilities are, where their resistance is. Because when we are actually hitting these targets, we do highlight like, okay, we went up, we hit the target. Some of them takes like a couple of months, some of them take less time, some of them take more time. But the idea here is, once you understand the target, once you understand the range where you are looking to take profit, and you're observing the volume and you're getting these updates on right time, that kind of helps, right? And that's one of the reasons why we try to be on time, regular, going through all these assets, because next 3 to 5 months is something you really don't want to miss. Imagine you were here and the market is just starting the run up. From that point, you literally had a huge window. Like the money making exact window from there is till this point, 175 days. After that was a correction and a retest of that range. All that's true, but it was still like 6 months. Now, inside that 6 months, you will still get consolidation. So say 5 to 6 months was something important last time. Then you go into the market and you're like, okay, that's wave 1. Here, wave 1 actually took more time and less ROI. Great. But after that, the market actually did wave 2 in an exponential way. Same time duration, you just blasted through the roof. So if that's the opportunity which is coming in the market, I don't miss that opportunity, because the trend lines matter. Whether we believe it or not, whether you believe it or not, this is actually showing you a zone where you're bouncing off from, which is historically a support, where people think this asset class is undervalued. And you can plot this any different way, saying, okay, this is the extreme optimistic view, but I would say, okay, this is better, much better. You can say, okay, we got this range and this was the deviation from that standard, and most likely you are going to come up here. That's like, wow. Understand the fact that that's going to happen in one way or the other, and be in assets. Understand that dollar is slowing down on the macro, because when you go on the monthly chart for dollar, you'll actually see this. We do have some kind of pattern working like this. So if this happens, that's the worst thing you want to see happening to dollar, because that has been a trend line. Each time when you're coming back down, you come back down to that trend line. If that happens, dollar is going to go down to like 64. Right now it's at 100. Wow, that's a massive drop in that price. Now, you can, look at a lot of different indicators to use that. Say, for example, you go into another currency pair where you are paid against dollar. Here, say, for example, in 2000, the tech burst, dollar actually dropped 20% or rupees gained 20%. But right now that 20% doesn't mean much. You actually have a lot of room to come back to a strong level of support. That's 40% drop. So that does show you like that's a huge drop in value of dollar, and some of these other currencies getting revalued based on what's happening in the world, the productivity, the population, the debt, you name it, all of them are kind of aligning well. So once you understand the macro and you position yourself in the micro, that's the opportunity window. That's where you make money. After waiting for a couple of years, if you are getting this opportunity right now, don't spoil it. Take time, learn, research, and execute. And while you execute, if you are looking for something like this where it helps you in your research, in your decision-making skills, that is what I'm here for. That's what I try to do with all these assets, with all these charts. Because with time, you look at the volume, you get all these assets, that helps. So guys, if you received value, please do hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't done that already. I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye for now.